Hi everyone, I'm Rael, and I wanted to talk to you today about the energy for the year in front of us. So, in summary of our 2020 year and how we've had this amazing experience of collective sharing, of being in the same experience together, and of having that sensation of the world as we know it slowing down, so that we can do these intuitive health checks that have been asked of us, where we are taking responsibility for checking our intuition. Are we on the right path? Is the information that we are sharing and hearing resonating with us or not? And largely the idea of that energy was in a non-judgmental space, that we were each to come to conclusions about what we were and weren't happy with. Some people were in an environment with people that, family, workmates that they'd been in for many, many years, and became aware of discomfort in those relationships, or became aware of behaviors that they had not seen in themselves, or emotional Achilles triggers that they had not been able to isolate. And so if 2020 was about vision and clarity, when we got to stop to see what we feel as our intuitive compass, really feel in our bodies, not just emotionally reacting to, but what are we emotionally experiencing and why? Then 2021 is the year of emotional responsibility. We have, over this decade, an incredible amount of innovation and changes and manifestation available to us. So 2021 has the energy of a voyager, where we may know the ship, the crew, and the oceans. We may have been there before, and we may understand the weather, but it's not until you have days of perfect sunshine or days of ghastly eddying winds that we realize that knowing the weather and experiencing the weather can be very different opportunities for self-discovery. And so we have this self-responsibility, innovation, and some of the maybe aggravation energy that we're going to have is also in that truth aspect. So as we take the time to become more connected to our belief system, does this feel right by me? Am I okay with this? What do I really think? What am I even feeling right now? So first you have a look, and then you respond. Now I'm going to say something, do something, say nothing, but tell myself the truth. This relieves a lot of stress in situations you have no control over, taking that permissiveness away. And where in the last year, a lot of the aggressive energy came in conflict of who was right and who was wrong. In the next year, we're going to be able to have a look at what we believe, and we will all believe something different. If you and I look at the same tree, we're going to believe it is a certain color, a certain shape, a certain age. And well, neither of us is right and wrong, because if you stand from this side and I stand from that side, we have a different perspective. We still feel that we are right because we've experienced the truth. And I think the biggest advantage that you will have in the next year is to have a look at your responses before you come through in the heavy end of the scale, which is aggression, because most of us are going to do this in a release way and not a confrontational way, where we go, I've checked and I'm not happy with the situation, the person, the sentence I just heard. What do I think? Do I care? this will be really interesting for a lot of people, because part of that self-responsibility energy is in you recognize what you are contributing to any situation, and then you are responsible for how you feel, how you react, how you support yourself or don't. And those of us who will move into self-care and will listen to our heart's desire, we will find it much easier, because it's not about forced change. It's not about agreeing to things because that energy is over. It is about aligning ourselves with the energy and the people that resonate with us, the events, the choices, whether you like rock concerts or touring or crochet. Whatever you like is valid and important if you've checked that you like it, and that when you put yourself in the imagining being there kind of energy, your future energy, if it feels good, you're on the right path. But so many things that we do because we should, because we were taught to do it, because we were conditioned that it was good or right or socially of benefit. And in this energy, what is of benefit to our communities and our societies is what we contribute as individuals. So one of the my favorite parts of the energy of this year is the uniqueness celebration, where we're starting to go, you have brown hair, that's amazing. You have blonde, black hair, that's amazing. And it's such a simple analogy, but over the last few decades, and I'm sure longer, but more recently, we've had so much conditioning to conform and to be a certain way that doesn't honor us. It doesn't let us be who we came here to be. It doesn't let us feel and think the way we feel and think. And to be able to navigate our intuition in a joyous way instead of a reactive way. And I know so many of you are empaths and intuitives, and you've experienced those decades in an impactful way where you have received too much of the heavy energy around you. But this is also how the self-responsibility works, is when you go, hang on, is that energy even mine? And it's not, and you put it away. This is when this next year gives you an elevated access to outcomes. It's almost as if you put down what doesn't serve you, what doesn't bring you joy, but you take the time to look and you decide, so feel it, check it, respond, you decide, you just don't want it. You give yourself an affirmation or a reframe. And then it's slightly different to manifestation. It's almost like the opportunities that unfold are more to do with your destiny as a character, how your mind and personality was designed to be at its best, rather than just an opportunity. So you are the opportunity, you are the manifestation of the situations that are coming up for you in 2021. And you're going to witness how people, as the manifestation, bring in these solutions, these innovations. And I think we're going to stop taking ourselves in and out of our imagination with, we can't, or it should be, or it's always been. I think we've finally learned that the future is actually unwritten. And, 2 years ago, the world's travel pausing and working from home, and everybody understanding that we all have emotional distress in situations that are different to each other and moment to moment. Some beautiful things have come out of 2020, but none of them we would have imagined 2 years ago. Some of them we wouldn't have imagined 9 months ago. And so in the 2021 energy, these solutions that are coming in are ground level, you and me, you know. How would I prefer to live? Let's change it. How would I prefer to work? Tell people that's how you are open to work. How do I want to be in my own home? Have a conversation with your family. You may be surprised at boundaries that other people would really enjoy and appreciate, that in the old energy was maybe ignoring each other or sharing space or not sharing space or time. And it's the same in the relationship energy. Over the next year, where the 2020 energy had a lot of finality to things, there were a lot of relationships that ended. There were a lot of toxic relationship behaviors that were recognized. So you may have found that friend groups and colleagues and some partners, you kind of recognize that they weren't in alignment with your heart's desires, your integrity. To be with them didn't make you feel like you were allowed to be you or fulfilling who you are. And so those, while not endings necessarily, were moments where most of us would have gone, turns out this is not where I want to be. And that leads to your future manifestations. But because a lot of it was fairly finite in your decisiveness, I don't like this, I don't want this. In this year, we have this beautiful ability to go, if I'm not comfortable with this exact scenario, it could be cooking dinner, it could be your job, it could be looking for work, or finding a relationship which isn't about getting your needs met. It's about coexisting with somebody who supports you in getting your needs met. Very different angles for everything. And circling back to the innovation is going to be where we go, here's my problem. Here's how I would like to do it. So you could be digging a hole in the garden to put a plant in. Traditionally, you might get a spade, chuck it in, dig it out, put the thing in. Now you're going, but what I want is fertilization. How would you do it differently? Might not go in the garden. You might have a stacking wall. You might have an ant farm a worm farm beside your garden where the fertilizer comes in just like irrigation straight out of your composting. Many changes, simple changes, complex changes. But if you come from the angle of how would I like the outcome to be? I see a lot of changes in jobs, and I don't mean people losing jobs. I do mean how we work. I have noticed when looking at the energy around employment over the last few years, the indicator that's come up the most is employing people to be themselves. And I love over the last few years, we've seen people say, you fit the culture of the business. And it's not a race profile culture, it's a personality, it's a vibrational culture. Sometimes that's a good thing, you fit and you get on and it's easier to work with people. Other times you don't fit the culture and you are always feeling more energetically taxed. So being able to do what you came here to do is very, very important. And I think fundamental for the pivot points of this year. And another very simple example will be if you liked working from home and the pieces of the job that you like doing the most, and you put them together and package yourself, you become a new business idea. And you don't have to be self-employed. You can tell people what you want to be doing. LinkedIn has things where has the capacity for you to change your byline to here's who I am and how I want to work. Well, why wouldn't we? This is so easy. And because at the end of all interview processes, you're hired for personality anyway, most of the time, why not lead with this? And be in a job that you get to do you. Do you like to be around people? Do you like to analyze things? Do you need to be outdoors? Like, where would your body like you to be while you contribute? And our contribution must be to our capacity. This does not mean overworking. It might mean that you work 10 hours a week and the rest of the time is spent with your family. It might be that you can work 60 hours a week and still volunteer. It might be that you can't make it through a full working week. So taking into account that our capacities change with our emotional burdens and how we perceive these. One of the amazing things in our work capacity that's coming on is that we're going to have more capacity to handle, because we are learning what makes us happy and sad. So that immediately halves your stress levels, taking yourself out of an environment that is uncomfortable. But we're also learning to value downtime and self-care and self-worth. And a lot of people this last year spent good amounts of energy on working out what is valuable and what is not valuable once you don't have access to it. So if you were home for a few weeks and there were things that had formed a part of your daily routine that you recognized you actually don't need that in your life, your energy can be transferred to something else. And of course, if there were things that you missed terribly, then prioritize keeping that in your life. A lot of my clients were in the, I miss having a coffee, I want to go to cafes, or I love not being out and about. It turns out I don't miss that camp. So there were really two different ways that we can emotionally respond to isolation. I can't handle it, I need to be around people, or thank goodness I don't have to have everybody's energy. Do people stimulate you or not? And when we're with people who feel like us, have a similar vibration or similar moral standard or interest in anything, any hobbies or interests that align with ours, so we can have a shared community and conversation, or art or movies or TV or looking after people, wherever we share that energy. And that seems to be a lot of the prioritizing that we're going to do if we prioritize our emotional self-responsibility. When we are looking this year at how does it make me feel and what will I do about that, we're also looking at our past reactive behavior, so where we were angry or controlling or reactive or scared or unsupportive, unkind to other people. These are all behaviors that come out when we don't feel safe, when we are not supported. And so some of the responsibility will be in our behaviors, and the biggest healings are going to come from being able to go, this is how I behaved in this situation, and I acknowledge that somebody was hurt because of it. So you're acknowledging rather than holding on to something. That allows release, which of course allows healing for all parties. Because it's not a blame game. That's the old energy. That's how we kept spiraling into heavy, heavy energy and staying stuck and going over it again and again. Now we want to acknowledge and respond and do something differently. If you didn't like it, if somebody didn't like it as in they got hurt. It's not up to them to choose who you are. But the idea is that you are happier and safer and brighter and much, much more likely to be yourself if you check who you are moment to moment and take responsibility for things that trigger you instead of blaming other people and never looking. I'm not suggesting that there won't be events where people do things that upset or devalue you perhaps. And you can definitely address those things. But please take the time to go, if this has manifested for me, not against me, for me, what's in it for me? What am I missing? What did I need to look at that this came to pass? And if you change that, so many things will simply drift away. Consequences of different perspectives in an argument disappear when you're no longer trying to make somebody think or feel the way you do, or have them make you think and feel the way they do. As soon as you go, I'm feeling manipulated and bullied, okay. Doesn't mean you have to continue to receive their energy or information. The other fun thing that I think this year is going to be the year of one-liners. And I think from us in our personal lives, we're just going to say things. We're just going to be going, wow, I feel so unsafe when you say things like that to me. Or that makes me feel really, really loved and supported. Thank you. So I do think we're going to start speaking about how things affect us. And this will be a little disarming for people who perhaps aren't quite that conscious, and for ourselves, because most of us have never been able to say, because we haven't looked to be able to say what we really think and feel. And it's been socially inappropriate to admit to something that is less than strength. What we're noticing in this beautiful, I feel like we're just marching out into this voyage, beautiful energy is that we are strong when we celebrate our emotional base rather than undermine, react, hide. I think that, another really beautiful piece to this energy 2021 and the decade in front of us is we're just going to be able to speak our truth. And it's not about trusting whether the people in front of us can receive it or even understand it. It's about trusting that we are worth it. We are loved. We are special. We are soul beings. And speaking our truth must be an energetic birthright. And that's part of that collective communication that we now move into, being able to gift a person who has wounded us or hurt us with the knowledge that they've done it and the information of how it was received, without blame, without making them bad, without judgment. You just say, this is how it was for me, and move on. And then they will do their own self-responsibility check. Why did I say I would do that? Or now, and when I say speak your truth, or why did they say and do that, there's no right or wrong. It's very important that we are not trying to force our beliefs on other people. If we honestly believe somebody hurt our feelings, that is our belief. It doesn't necessarily mean that the truth was they were being hurtful. So the other thing about self-responsibility is that we make it about us, our unique centric viewing of an event, and allow that the people who are on the stage with us presenting these learning opportunities are doing the best they can. Some things you will speak of and you'll put boundaries in place, or you'll be in a position where you can't put boundaries in place, but you still state to yourself how you feel and what you would prefer, your reframing, or how you would like it to work differently. Use it as an opportunity to start building up that work experience rather than work position. Now, a very strange energy that is also coming through in 2021 is around our animals. And I feel like I'm looking at the energy with animals I know, and I'm feeling this real, not bossiness energy, but kind of a pushback. Like they have a say, and it's not about animal rights, because the energy I'm seeing is not just in the wild, it's with our pets, and our very loved pets are in the same energy. It's about sentient beings, and the increased level of communication that our sentient beings are going to start sharing with us. And some people are really privileged. They can walk in a park and feel the language of the trees, or talk to animals, or feel love and energy through their feet when they ground on the grass. Some people have got a beautiful connection to nature already. And the silence that has been created in this last year has left the rest of the world time and room energetically to stabilize, to ground, and to come forward. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that is. And it's, again, I'm not suggesting our animals are bossy necessarily, although their personalities are quite delightful. I'm much more impressing on the energy imaging for us that they do have a say. They have a say in when you come home from a day out with your friends, or a day in a work environment. You come home with the energy of other people, and you bring it into your home, and you may keep it. You may not know how to ground or to clear your energy. You may not remember to. But when we bring energy into a home where animals live, we impose the experience on them, because our pets choose us. They come to us to heal and to support. And in the lower energies, in the old decades, where the energy was heavier but less, I suppose, less refined, so it didn't affect our little fur babies and pets of all kind, really. And now it does. And so there you'll find that your animals may strike a coup. I'm sorry to smile at this, but the images are really quite lovely, that they're going to go, don't you know this is upsetting me, and move away from you. And not in a I don't love you sulky way, because our animals are such heart connections, but in a could you take a moment to check. So I just have this imagery. It's like watching movies or cartoons where you come home, and normally your loving animals are waiting for their food and attention, granted. And here they go, do you know what? No, I choose not to engage with you in this state. And we will get an extra check, and we will have an extra motivation. And for those of us who have animals in the home, we're probably going to get this scenario in a home space. But for those of you who are out and about when you can encounter these animals, I think you will find it amusing. I think it will be quite charming. But if you like to look for signs in nature, if you like to look for leadership from your guides and your ancestors out and about, pay attention to animals moving towards you or away from you, and just check the energy. Just see if it is a bird is leaving the space because you're a large thing, or is it them looking at you, not moving but disconnecting their energy. And I just think it's quite gorgeous. But it's also, of course, part of that collective energy coming through, so we get to see how all of it is connected, and how far our planet has moved just in this little decade we've only just started. So yeah, nature has some things in store for us. I just think that they're led by the collective emotions. So I think that when I'm looking at how the bigger weather events in nature is working, similar things, there is a real ease around this, where the energy of the country is at ease, and there's learning or support energy coming in through the weather, where energy needs to be checked and dissipated in a way. We choose. So if we choose to do our cleansing of energy regularly, or before we come home, or once a year, you do New Year's check, then you're already supporting the collective energy of your town, your country, our whole planet. And if many people do this, then everything calms. The energy is strong and graceful and supportive from the planet. But if the energy is in disarray, untamed, used perhaps even against people, those towns or places will have heavier weather events. We've seen examples of that in our recent past as well. Although I have to say, weather doesn't feature as a thing in the year's energy particularly. It's very normal. It just seems the location for whatever weather events have to happen naturally need to be released, seem to be in correlation to collective energy on the ground. And the last stream I'm having is around music and the arts. In my understanding of the energy history of the planet, every time we have prioritized intuition, which looks like, celebrating the arts, society has flourished and been prosperous. We're entitled to abundance. And so perhaps unconsciously, a large part of the collective in the next year will be focusing on the arts. And I just feel like it's a future energy. So it might just be at home and in small pockets in this particular year, where we start to recognize that we need this. We need to celebrate our sensitives. We need to celebrate the gifts that we have. For some people, that will be music, that will be writing, that will be art, and celebrate that comes from souls who are connected in a different way to vibration. So often really misunderstood or energetically overwhelmed people, because they're in channel for half of this. And we start to really appreciate the need to nurture and encourage and support each other when we move ourselves into any artistic endeavor. And I think, through the 80s, we would say things like, as an artist, you can't make a living being an artist. And that was a real belief system, that you had to become one with the Borg. You had to really comply to society and get your 9 to 5 and strive in a way that was contrary to your well-being. And it diminished people who didn't comply. And now we've worked out that making time for relaxation and anything that brings you joy, whether you like paint by numbers or can sculpt or sing or can create music with instruments, or there's so many forms of art, anything that is creative, it will add to the vibration. It will add to your journey towards happiness, because play is very, very important. But I think as we learn to prioritize it and not diminish our downtime, our hobbies, our activities, we're recognizing that this is time we spend replenishing or resting our bodies, that it becomes an important contribution. And so if you find yourself buying tickets to your local school show or art galleries or smaller events that you may not have been interested in before, you will recognize the energy of the room you're in. You will recognize what creativity inspires in you, even if it's not your choice, your form of art. I have many artists in my family, and I don't have art in the form of painting or music, but I have found things that make me feel creative may not be mainstream. They may be writing, they may be creating Christmas decorations or multicolored post-its at work. You know, it's really about, does it bring you joy? And you should work towards anything that does. You know, we want that feeling in our day, every day. And we're working towards how do we celebrate that and make it a goal that we let people in our society move towards. So I touched on the uniqueness that's being celebrated, and over the last few months I've also posted many things about uniqueness and unity being the new energy we're moving into. So I feel like part of the way that's going to be coming through in 2021 is as we become more invested in finding out what our special uniqueness is. And tip for young players is it's who we've always been. Whoever we were born as is who we are. And what we're meant to be is not often in the vocation and career space. We're meant to be us at our best version, doing whatever resonates with us. So being able to come here and be you, do what you're here to do, so that you contribute what you offer to the community. And the community or the unity will in turn support you being you. And it will be quite a natural thing, but I just see a lot of innovation and technology supporting it. So if you like making posters, then it might just be that creatives who maybe have printers start to say, hey, we know somebody who needs this. If you design it, I'll print it. And so you're not actually creating work or having to create a business. You're just being employed to do the bit that you want to do. Or you may be the person who does the maths the best in your family, and people will go, hey, can you have a look at this? And you go, there's the answer. You know it, they didn't. And then they go, cool, I've cooked. Do you want it? Well, you don't cook, and they do. So it just seems to be a bit of a collaborative sharing that comes in with us being allowed to be ourselves and encouraged to do us our way, but taking responsibility for contributing as well to your capacity. If you are working full time and you don't have the energy to work overtime and to volunteer and to some people working part-time is as much as they can do. So it's not a judgment or a value base. You know whether you have more to give and you feel joy when you give. Giving may be volunteering, it may be free. Giving may be paid. Giving may be a contra where you exchange. So giving is not so much of doing things without an energy exchange. There should always be an energy exchange. It just may not come from the group you give to. You may be doing your giving at home. You may be looking after people. You may be spending, half an hour a week sending healing back into the planet. You may love your animals and your giving comes in nurture. You may have a year of goddess work or warrior's journey and your giving comes in self-nurture. So the giving will come this year, and every time you do, you will feel more joy. So that's the collaboration, that community piece that's coming from our unity as unique individuals. Oh, is there anything else? Highs and lows. I think I'll also just come back to the heavy end of the energy. There is room for disagreements. There's absolutely room for conflict in the energy of the year, because we may all think we know, the best way to do things and force that on people, or resent that they don't follow us or look after us. I feel like we're still looking at who looks after you. So that might be in the government space. They may not do this in the way that you like. And we have a voice and we need to use it. But we must use it with kindness to be successful. And sometimes that's more about getting your house in order energetically. I definitely see other people who are here to make changes on the planet, and they will do it in a much more conflict-driven way. But if you look at the energy when you see these things through the media, you may recognize what the true purpose of that engagement is, and that may settle you a little. With the media tends to share some of the information, but large amounts of emotional energy come through those channels, and because they're often anxious or upsetting, if we receive that energy, we can feel wounded or scared or sad or low. So if you feel an energy impact coming through the media and you choose to stay engaged with the media, remember to do a clearing of your own energy. If you are witness to something you don't like, remember to send healing to that and to you, so that you don't stay in the heavy energy, so that you have responded in a way that empowers you. But I would like you to know that any of the energy conflicts in 2021 that you are personally engaged in it's not a trick, it's not a trap. These are not energies trying to pull rugs out from under you. These are energies trying to free you from a pattern that you have that you are ignoring because you have not felt safe enough to be yourself. And anything we choose to think and feel and believe that doesn't hurt somebody else must be sacred. We are entitled to our thoughts, our feelings, and our beliefs as they are. And if we are to change or adjust them, then our guides will bring versions for this learning. And the last thing is there's so much love energy. I think we're going to start tapping into feeling loved, feeling like we are worthy of love. The human condition has left us with such shattered self-worth, and there's a lot of release in this last year around that. And so 2021, we seem to get a vision or an idea perhaps, tell me again, an image. We get to see an image of who we really are, and put down a lot of the programming of who we were supposed to be. We were not supposed to be a fireman, a model, a teacher, a mother, a father, a CEO. If this is not where we are, then we were not meant to be there. And keeping an ideal of who we should be seen as to prove our worth is definitely in all of that old energy. And this year we're going to go, hey, my eyes are different colors, or I'm particularly short or particularly tall. Isn't that amazing? This is how I do it. And I can read 100 words a second, or I can't read at all. This is amazing. This is how I do it. So there will be a huge amount of acceptance about who we are, and that brings that self-worth and that self-love in a really supportive environment. So I think that 2021, with its self-responsibility and innovation and unity and uniqueness, is just going to be a beautiful year to have been on this planet. And I'm very excited because I do see many, many ways that we will move forward successfully and happily and together. But first we need to move forward successfully in our hearts and our headspace. And where 2020 opened it all up and pulled it apart a little bit, now we're going to repackage it. And like a little Rubik's Cube, when we put it back together, it's not how it started. It's not meant to be how we thought we should be. We just want to go back to who we are, really. I have a colleague who told me that she thinks about her life's journey as a marble or rock statue. And she said to me once, I'm chipping away piece by piece at who I am. And I asked her to explain that to me. And she said, well, if I was carved from a large piece of rock, every day I chip away at a piece, and eventually all of me will be revealed in the sculpture that I am to be. And I think that's a really beautiful way, that we're not trying to take away any piece of us. We're trying to come home to who we are. And it's a year for coming home to who we are. It's a year for moving towards the vibration of people we're meant to be with. And it's a year for finding ways to look after yourself, to allow yourself to achieve what you're here to achieve, rather than expecting yourself to do what you're not here to do. And that you are important, exactly the way that you are. So looking forward to 2021 and the breath of fresh air that's coming forward.